You've probably heard the story of Janitor Joe, who was forced to sing solo by a famous singer. But what really happened? The rumors and whispers have been circulating for years, but few people know the truth behind this infamous incident. As we delve into the life of Emily, the famous singer, and James, the humble janitor, you'll start to unravel the threads of a story that's equal parts shocking and awe-inspiring. It's a tale that will challenge your perceptions of talent, humility, and the power of music. Meet Emily, the pop sensation who had it all: chart-topping hits, sold-out concerts, and a reputation for being one of the most talented vocalists of her generation. She was the epitome of success, with a voice that could melt hearts and shatter glass. But Emily's world was about to be turned upside down. You see, Emily had a secret. She was terrified of being surpassed. She had always been the center of attention, and the thought of someone else taking the spotlight was unbearable. That's when she spotted James, a quiet janitor who worked in the building where she was scheduled to perform. He was just another face in the crowd, but Emily saw something in him that caught her attention. James was indeed a janitor, but he was also a talented singer. He had a voice that could convey a depth of emotion that few people possessed. And yet, he kept his talent hidden, content to live in the shadows and let others bask in the glory of his music. But Emily saw the potential in him, and she was determined to bring it out. The day of the incident arrived, and Emily confronted James in front of her entourage and the entire building staff. She sneered at him, her voice dripping with condescension. "You think you can sing, janitor? Prove it." The crowd gasped in shock, but James, taken aback by Emily's words, hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. And that's when it happened. James took the stage, his voice trembling at first, but gradually gaining confidence as the notes flowed from his lips. Emily's eyes widened in surprise as James hit note after note, his voice soaring to heights she never thought possible. The crowd was transfixed, mesmerized by the beauty of James' voice. But Emily was not impressed. She scoffed at James, her voice dripping with disdain. "You think you can sing like me? I doubt it." And with that, she took the stage herself, her voice screaming with a ferocity that shook the foundations of the building. The crowd erupted into applause, but James stood frozen, his eyes locked on Emily. As the music faded away, the room fell silent, except for the sound of James breathing. He had just delivered a performance that would change his life forever, but Emily's reaction left him stunned. She had expected him to fail, to be the laughing stock of the building, but instead, James had risen to the challenge and stolen the show. But little did Emily know, James had a secret talent that would change everything. A talent that he had kept hidden for years, locked away behind a mask of humility and quiet dedication. And now, that secret was about to be unleashed on the world. As we dig deeper into the story of Janitor Joe and the famous singer who forced him to sing solo, you'll discover a tale of unexpected twists and turns, of hidden talents and shattered dreams. It's a story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about music, talent, and the power of the human voice. You'll meet more characters who will challenge your perceptions and raise questions that will haunt you long after the video ends. The journey will take you down a path of discovery, of self-discovery, and of the true meaning of success. And at the heart of it all is the story of James, the humble janitor who dared to dream big. But for now, let's take a step back and revisit the moment that changed James' life forever. The moment when he stepped onto the stage, his voice trembling with fear, but his heart beating with determination. It's a moment that will stay with you long after the video ends, a reminder of the power of music to transform, to uplift, and to inspire. And as we continue on this journey, you'll start to see the threads of a story that will lead you to unexpected places. Places of wonder, of awe, and of curiosity. Places where the boundaries between reality and fiction blur, and the impossible becomes possible. So buckle up and get ready for the ride of a lifetime. The story of Janitor Joe and the famous singer who forced him to sing solo is about to take you on a journey you'll never forget. You're probably wondering how the infamous encounter between Emily, the famous singer, and James, the janitor, actually went down. Well, let's start from the beginning, and I'll take you on a journey to uncover the truth behind this unforgettable incident. As you sit here, imagining the scene, you might be picturing Emily as a diva, belting out her heart out in front of a packed crowd. And you'd be right. Emily was known for her sharp tongue and her love of belting out tunes in public. She was the kind of person who would sing along to her favorite songs in the shower, in the car, or even in the middle of a crowded street. Her voice was her passion, and she wasn't afraid to show it off. On the other hand, you might be picturing James as a humble janitor, mopping the floors and sweeping the stages of the local music hall. And that's exactly who James was. He was just trying to make ends meet, working hard to provide for his family and keep a roof over their heads. He wasn't a musician, he wasn't a star, and he certainly wasn't looking for fame or fortune. He just wanted to do his job and go home. But what you might not know is that James had a secret. When no one was looking, when the crowds had gone home and the music hall was quiet, James would slip into the janitor's closet and sing. He'd close the door, turn on the lights, and let his voice soar. He'd sing his heart out, pouring his soul into every note, every lyric. It was his escape, his sanctuary, and his passion. Little did James know, his secret was about to be discovered by none other than Emily herself. One fateful night, Emily stumbled upon James singing in the janitor's closet, and her competitive spirit was sparked. She had always been the center of attention, the star of the show, and the thought of someone else singing as beautifully as she did was like a red flag waving in her face. As she watched James from behind the door, Emily felt a surge of adrenaline course through her veins. She had always prided herself on being the best, on being the one who could hit the high notes and bring the house down. And now, here was this janitor, this nobody, singing like a pro. It was like a challenge had been thrown down in her face, and Emily was more than happy to rise to the occasion. But what Emily didn't know was that James had been singing for years, honing his craft, perfecting his technique. He had a voice that was raw, emotional, and honest, a voice that could move mountains. And as Emily listened, mesmerized by the sound that was coming from behind the door, she had no idea that she was about to meet her match. You might be wondering what happened next, but I'll save that for the next section. For now, let's just say that the setup was in place, the stage was set, and the drama was about to unfold. Emily and James were about to engage in a battle of voices, a battle of wills, and a battle of passion, and only one person could come out on top. But here's the thing, James had something that Emily didn't. He had heart, he had soul, and he had a voice that was truly one of a kind. And when the dust settled and the music faded away, only one question remained. Who would come out on top? Would Emily, the famous singer, prove to be the best? Or would James, the humble janitor, surprise everyone and steal the show? You'll have to keep watching to find out. But for now, let's just say that the setup was in place and the game was afoot. The question is, are you ready to find out what happens next? You're probably wondering what really happened when famous singer Emily challenged janitor James to a sing-off. Well, let's dive into the story and uncover the truth behind this infamous encounter. As you sit here, imagine yourself in James's shoes, unsure of what's about to happen. It all started when Emily, the famous singer, was in the middle of a concert at the prestigious Grand Ballroom. She was in the middle of her hit song, Love in the Dark, when she noticed James, the janitor, cleaning the stage. Without warning, she stopped singing and turned to James, a sly smile spreading across her face. "Hey, Janitor Joe," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I've heard you've got some hidden talents. Can you prove it?" James, taken aback by the sudden interruption, stood frozen, unsure of how to respond. He had always been a private person, content with his humble job, and the last thing he wanted was to be humiliated in front of a crowd of thousands. But Emily's words had struck a chord. Deep down, he had always loved singing, and the thought of being able to share that with others was too tempting to resist. With a newfound sense of determination, James took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Okay, I'll do it," he said, his voice shaking slightly. But before he could begin, Emily swooped in, her eyes gleaming with amusement. "Oh, I don't think so," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You have to earn the right to sing. I'll give you a choice. Either sing a cappella or sing a duet with me." James's heart sank. He knew he couldn't sing a cappella, not in front of such a large crowd, but the thought of singing a duet with Emily was even more daunting. What if he messed up in front of her? What if he sounded worse than he thought? But something inside him urged him to take the challenge. "I'll sing a duet with you," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily's smile grew wider and she nodded, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Excellent choice," she said. "Let's do this." But little did James know, he had a hidden advantage that would give him the upper hand. As it turned out, his years of working in the music industry, albeit in the background, had given him a unique understanding of music theory and composition. He had spent countless hours listening to and analyzing the greatest songs of all time, and he knew exactly what made them tick. As he stood on stage, his heart pounding in his chest, James took a deep breath and focused on the task at hand. He knew he had to outperform Emily if he wanted to prove himself, but he also knew that he couldn't outsing her. So, he decided to take a different approach. Instead of going toe-to-toe with Emily, James decided to play to his strengths. He chose a song that he knew Emily wouldn't be able to hit, a song that required a level of vocal control and precision that even she couldn't match. It was a risk, but it was one that James was willing to take. As the music began, James closed his eyes and let the notes flow from his mouth. It was as if he had been born to sing, his voice soaring and dipping with ease. The crowd was mesmerized, unsure of what to make of the janitor's incredible talent. Emily, on the other hand, was stunned. She had never heard anyone sing like that before, and she knew that she had met her match. But the real twist came when James opened his eyes and locked gazes with Emily. For a moment, they just stared at each other, their eyes locked in a silent challenge. And then, without warning, James began to improvise. He started singing in a language that Emily didn't understand, a language that only a select few could comprehend. The crowd was in awe, unsure of what was happening. Emily, on the other hand, was furious. She had never been outsung before, and she didn't know how to react. But James just kept on singing, his voice growing louder and more confident with every passing moment. As the music came to an end, the crowd erupted into applause, cheering and whistling for more. James had done the impossible, out-singing the famous singer and stealing the show. And as he walked off stage, his head held high, he knew that he had finally found his true calling. Little did he know, however, that this was only the beginning of his journey. You're probably still reeling from the revelation that Emily, the famous singer, challenged Janitor James to a sing-off, only to be left stunned and speechless as he hit notes she never could. But what you may not know is that there's more to this story than meets the eye. As we dive deeper into the truth behind this infamous encounter, you'll discover that James was hiding a secret that would change everything. You see, James had been secretly taking singing lessons, hunting his unique vocal talent in secret. It wasn't just a hobby or a way to pass the time. James was dead serious about his singing. He spent hours each week practicing, perfecting his craft, and pushing himself to new heights. And it wasn't just Emily who had no idea about James's secret life. The entire world was oblivious to his hidden talent. As Emily stood on stage, ready to mock James's singing, she had no idea what was about to hit her. She had underestimated James, assuming he was just a janitor with no musical ability. But little did she know, James was about to blow her away. When he began to sing, his voice soared, filling the room with an otherworldly sound that left everyone in awe. The crowd went wild, cheering and whistling as James's voice echoed through the concert hall. Emily's eyes widened in shock as she watched James perform, her doubts creeping in like a thief in the night. How could this be? How could a janitor, someone she had treated with such disdain, possess a voice that rivaled hers? As the audience continued to cheer, Emily's smile faltered, replaced by a look of pure confusion. She had never seen anything like this before. James's voice was like nothing she had ever heard, rich, full, and hauntingly beautiful. And as he sang on, Emily found herself drawn into the music, her doubts and fears melting away with each passing note. The more James sang, the more Emily realized just how much she had underestimated him. She had assumed he was just a janitor, someone beneath her notice. But now, as she watched him perform, she saw a different person, a person with talent, with passion, and with a voice that could move mountains. As the applause continued to thunder through the concert hall, Emily felt a sense of unease creeping over her. She had never been one to back down from a challenge, but this was different. James's singing had left her speechless, and for the first time in her life, she felt like she was in over her head. You can almost hear the sound of Emily's heart pounding in her chest as she watches James take the stage. She's never felt so unsure, so uncertain about what's about to happen. And as James begins to sing, the crowd erupts into cheers, leaving Emily with a realization that would change everything. She had just been schooled by a janitor. As we watch this incredible turn of events unfold, we're left with a question. What happens next? Will Emily be able to recover from this stunning defeat, or will James's singing continue to leave her in the dust? The answers, as always, are just around the corner, waiting to be revealed in the next chapter of this unforgettable story. But for now, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've just witnessed. James, the janitor, had just taken down Emily, the famous singer, with a voice that left her speechless. It's a moment that will be etched in history forever, a reminder that talent and passion can come from anyone, anywhere. And as we move forward, we're left with a question. What's next for James, and will he be able to take his newfound fame to the next level? The crowd is still cheering, the applause still thundering through the concert hall. And as Emily watches James take his final bow, she can't help but feel a sense of awe and wonder. She's been humbled, she's been schooled, and she's been left with a newfound respect for the janitor who's taken her down a peg. As we move forward in this incredible story, we're left with a question. What happens next for Emily, and will she be able to recover from this stunning defeat? The answers, as always, are just around the corner, waiting to be revealed in the next chapter of this unforgettable tale. You're probably still reeling from the revelation that Emily, the famous singer, challenged janitor James to a sing-off, only to be left stunned and speechless as he hit notes she never could. But now that you've got a taste of what's to come, it's time to dive into the heart of the story, the ultimate showdown between Emily and James. Imagine yourself standing in the dimly lit auditorium, the air electric with anticipation. The crowd is on the edge of their seats, their eyes fixed on the stage where the two singers are about to face off. The lights are blinding and the tension is palpable. This is it, the moment of truth. Emily, resplendent in her designer gown, struts out onto the stage, her microphone in hand. She's got the spotlight all to herself, and she's going to make the most of it. But James, the humble janitor, is not intimidated. He walks out onto the stage with a quiet confidence that catches everyone off guard. He's got a simple white shirt and a pair of worn-out jeans, but he's got a secret that's going to blow the roof off this place. As the crowd begins to chant his name, Emily takes a deep breath and starts to sing. Her voice is like a siren's call, drawing everyone in with its sweet, melodic tones. But James is not to be underestimated. He takes a moment to collect himself, and then he launches into a soulful rendition of Yesterday that brings the house down. The crowd is wowed, but Emily is unfazed. She's been in this situation before, and she knows exactly how to respond. She takes the stage by storm, her voice soaring as she belts out a powerful rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody. The crowd is on their feet, cheering and whistling, but James is not backing down. He takes a deep breath, and then he starts to sing a cappella, his voice soaring through the auditorium like a bird in flight. The crowd is blown away, but Emily is still holding her own. She's got the experience, the talent, and the fame. What could possibly go wrong? But just as Emily thought she had the upper hand, James pulls out a surprise that would change everything. He starts to sing a song that's been passed down through generations of his family, a traditional folk tune that's been sung at weddings and funerals alike. The crowd is mesmerized, their eyes fixed on James as he pours his heart and soul into the performance. Emily is taken aback, her voice faltering for a moment as she struggles to keep up. But James is not to be underestimated. He's got a secret that's going to blow the competition out of the water. As the music builds to a crescendo, the crowd is on their feet, cheering and whistling. Emily is stunned, her eyes wide with shock as she realizes that she's been outdone. James is a natural, and he's got a voice that's going to take him all the way to the top. But just as the crowd is about to go wild, James drops the mic and walks off the stage, leaving Emily looking like a fish out of water. What just happened? Did James really just outsing the famous singer? And what's behind this mysterious folk tune that's got everyone talking? You're going to have to wait until next time to find out, but one thing's for sure, the showdown between Emily and James is far from over. You're probably still reeling from the revelation that Emily, the famous singer, was forced to confront her own limitations when Janitor James, the janitor she mocked, turned out to have a voice that could leave her speechless. But what you may not know is that this was more than just a chance encounter. It was a turning point for both Emily and James. As Emily watched James take the stage, she couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. She had always been the center of attention, the star of the show, and the thought of being upstaged by a janitor was unthinkable. But as the music began to play and James's voice soared, Emily's doubts turned to fears. You see, James didn't just have a good voice, he had a voice that could send shivers down your spine. It was haunting, ethereal, and seemed to come from a place deep within his soul. As Emily listened, she felt a chill run down her spine, and for a moment she forgot about her own fame and fortune. All she could think about was the music and the man who was creating it. The crowd was in awe, mesmerized by James's performance. They were clapping along, cheering and whistling, and Emily felt her competitive spirit begin to stir. She had never been one to back down from a challenge, and the thought of being upstaged by a janitor was too much to bear. She began to wonder if she had what it took to take on James, to outsing him and prove her superiority. As James finished his song, the crowd erupted into cheers, and Emily's competitive spirit was crushed. For a moment, she felt like she was staring into the abyss, unsure of what lay ahead. She had always been the one in control, the one with the power, and now she felt like she was losing her grip on reality. The crowd was on its feet, cheering and clapping, and Emily felt a wave of emotions wash over her. She was angry, she was scared, and she was humiliated. She had never felt this way before, and she didn't know how to react. All she could do was stand there, frozen in time, as the crowd continued to cheer and James took his well-deserved bow. As the music died down and the crowd began to disperse, Emily felt a sense of unease wash over her. She knew that she had been outsung, outperformed, and outdone by a janitor. She didn't know how to process this, or what it meant for her future as a singer. All she knew was that she had been left speechless, and that James had left her with a haunting melody that would stay with her forever. The crowd may have been cheering, but Emily was left feeling defeated and unsure of what lay ahead. She had always been the star, the center of attention, but now she felt like she was just another face in the crowd. As she walked off the stage, she knew that she had a decision to make. Would she rise to the challenge and try to outsing James, or would she admit defeat and walk away? The choice was hers and hers alone. You're still reeling from the shocking revelation that Emily, the famous singer, was forced to confront her own limitations when Janitor James turned out to have a voice that could leave her speechless. But what you may not know is that this was more than just a surprise victory for James. It was a wake-up call for Emily. As she walked off the stage, Emily was left reeling from her unexpected defeat. She couldn't believe she had misjudged James so badly. She had thought she was the best, that she was untouchable. But James had proven her wrong in the most spectacular way possible. His voice was like nothing she had ever heard before, rich, smooth, and effortlessly soaring. And the way he had nailed those high notes, unbelievable. You might be wondering how Emily could have been so blind to James's talent. The truth is, she had always judged him based on his appearance and his job. She had assumed that because he was a janitor, he couldn't possibly have a voice like hers. But as she watched him perform, she realized that she had been wrong on every level. James's voice was not just good, it was great. And James, on the other hand, was basking in the glory of his surprise victory. He had always known that he had a good voice, but he had never thought it was good enough to compete with someone like Emily. But now, he was the one who had come out on top. He was the one who had proved that even the most unlikely person can have a hidden talent. As the two singers parted ways, Emily couldn't help but feel a newfound respect for James's talent. She was impressed by his confidence, his stage presence, and his incredible voice. And James, on the other hand, was still on cloud nine, basking in the praise and adoration of the crowd. You might be wondering what happened next. Did Emily and James become friends? Did they collaborate on a song together? The truth is, we don't know. But what we do know is that their encounter had a profound impact on both of them. It made Emily realize that she had been living in a bubble, that she had been blind to the talents of others. And it made James realize that he had been hiding his true self, that he had been afraid to share his voice with the world. Their story is a reminder that we should never judge a book by its cover. We should never assume that someone is not capable of greatness just because of their appearance or their job. Because the truth is, we never know what someone is hiding. And sometimes, it's the people who seem the least likely to succeed who end up surprising us in the most incredible way. As you watch the next part of their story unfold, you'll be on the edge of your seat, wondering what will happen next. Will Emily and James become friends? Will they collaborate on a song together? The truth is, we don't know. But one thing is for sure, their encounter has changed them both forever. And it's a reminder that we should always keep an open mind, that we should never be afraid to take risks and try new things. You're probably wondering what's next for Emily and James. Will they work together on a project? Will they become close friends? The truth is, we don't know. But what we do know is that their encounter has opened up new possibilities for both of them. And it's a reminder that we should never be afraid to take risks and try new things, because you never know what might happen. You're probably still wondering how the tables turned for Emily, the famous singer, and janitor James. As you recall, they had a history of clashing, with Emily making fun of James's janitorial skills and James retaliating by exposing her limitations as a singer. But what you might not know is that this rivalry was only the beginning of a beautiful friendship. As Emily and James continued to cross paths, they started to see each other in a different light. They discovered that beneath their tough exteriors, they shared a deep passion for music. Emily was amazed by James's unique talent and the way he could hit notes that she could only dream of. James, on the other hand, was impressed by Emily's dedication and perseverance, even when faced with her own limitations. The two began to spend more time together, and James started to teach Emily new singing techniques. She was a quick learner, and soon she was able to tackle songs that she had previously considered impossible. James, in turn, was grateful for the opportunity to share his knowledge and experience with someone who truly appreciated his art. Their musical partnership flourished, and they became an unstoppable duo. They started performing together at local gigs, and their chemistry on stage was undeniable. Emily was finally able to showcase her talents in a way that she never thought possible, and James was able to share his gifts with a wider audience. As their friendship grew, so did their musical repertoire. They started experimenting with new styles and genres, pushing each other to explore uncharted territories. Emily was inspired by James's creativity and willingness to take risks, and James was amazed by Emily's ability to adapt and learn. Their collaboration was not without its challenges, however. There were moments when they disagreed on creative decisions, and their differences threatened to tear them apart. But they always managed to work through their issues, and their bond grew stronger with each passing day. You might be wondering what ultimately brought Emily and James together. Was it their shared love of music or something more? The truth is, it was a little bit of both. They found common ground in their passion for art, and their differences became the foundation of a beautiful friendship. As they continue to perform and create music together, Emily and James are proof that even the most unlikely of friends can become an unstoppable duo. Their story is a testament to the power of collaboration and the importance of embracing our differences. And as you watch them take the stage, you can't help but wonder what's next for this talented pair. Can you believe the journey that Emily and Janitor James have been on? From rivals to friends and now musical partners, their story is one for the ages. Stay tuned to find out what's next for this incredible duo, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. You're still reeling from the shocking revelation that Emily, the famous singer, was forced to confront her own limitations when Janitor James turned out to have a voice that could leave her speechless. But what you may not know is that this was more than just a surprise victory for Janitor James. It was the start of a beautiful friendship and a music career that would change both of their lives forever. As Emily and James began to perform together, their collaboration soared to new heights. They discovered that their unique sound and chemistry captured the hearts of fans worldwide, who couldn't get enough of their powerful harmonies and infectious energy. It was as if they had been singing together for years, not months, and their music became the soundtrack to a new generation of music lovers. Their first joint concert was a sellout event, with fans lining up around the block to see the unlikely duo take the stage. And take the stage they did, belting out hits that showcased their incredible talent and chemistry. Emily's powerful vocals were perfectly complemented by James's smooth, soulful sound, and the audience was entranced from the opening notes. But it wasn't just their music that won over the fans, it was their friendship and camaraderie that shone through on stage. They laughed and joked with each other, sharing stories and anecdotes that left the audience in stitches. It was clear that Emily and James had found a true partnership, both on and off stage. As their fame grew, so did their friendship. They became one of the most beloved duos in the music industry, known for their infectious energy and heartfelt performances. And it wasn't just the fans who were won over. Industry insiders and critics alike praised their unique sound and chemistry. One critic wrote, "Emily and James are a match made in heaven. Their music is a perfect blend of power and vulnerability, and their chemistry on stage is undeniable." Another wrote, "Their performances are like a breath of fresh air. They're authentic, honest, and totally captivating." You can't help but wonder what the future holds for Emily and James. Will they continue to break records and push the boundaries of what's possible in music? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure. Their friendship and partnership have created something truly special, and their music will be remembered for generations to come. As you watch them perform on stage, you can't help but be drawn in by their energy and enthusiasm. They're living proof that even the most unlikely of duos can become the most successful and beloved in the music industry. And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to follow your own dreams and find your own unlikely partner in crime. You're about to learn a valuable lesson from a most unlikely duo, Emily, the famous singer, and Janitor James. Their story serves as a reminder that talent can come from anywhere, and never underestimate the power of a good challenge. Think about it, James was just a janitor, tasked with cleaning up after Emily's sold-out concerts, yet he held a secret that would change the course of their lives forever. As you listen to their story, you might wonder what made James tick. What drove him to keep his extraordinary voice hidden for so long? The truth is, James was afraid of being ridiculed, of being seen as a janitor who couldn't cut it in the music industry. But when Emily, the confident diva, mocked his abilities, something inside him snapped. He decided to take a chance and showcase his talent, leaving Emily speechless and the crowd in awe. Their legacy lives on as a testament to the transformative power of music and friendship. Emily and James's unlikely friendship turned what could have been a bitter rivalry into a beautiful collaboration. They proved that even the most different people can come together and create something truly extraordinary. And it's not just their music that's left an impact, but the lessons they've taught us about perseverance, self-discovery, and the importance of taking risks. You see, James's story is a reminder that sometimes it takes a push from someone else to unlock our true potential. Emily, on the other hand, learned that even the most confident among us can be humbled by someone else's talent. Their story serves as a reminder that we're all capable of growth, and that the most unlikely people can become the best of friends. As you continue to follow their journey, you'll discover more about the impact they've had on the world. From sold-out concerts to chart-topping hits, Emily and James's music has inspired countless people to chase their dreams, no matter how impossible they may seem. And it's not just their music that's inspired others, but their unbreakable bond, a testament to the power of friendship and collaboration. Their story is a reminder that we all have a unique gift to share with the world, and that with the right mindset, anything is possible. So, the next time you're about to give up on your dreams, remember Emily and James's story. Remember that even the most unlikely people can achieve greatness, and that the power of music and friendship can transform lives forever.